All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of NASCAR by the Numbers. You got me, not Velocity XCC, now the newly branded Motor Minister. For those who don't know, I'm a certified minister. That's why. And no NASCAR, no Will today. He couldn't make it with us today, but he's here in spirit. Let's just say that. Joining us is once again the man, the myth himself, Justin Champagne.
How's it going, y'all?
So we got a pretty decent little show coming up for you guys. We're going to talk about Vegas, the two big contract deals that got signed this week, and also we're going to talk about Kyle Larson once again. He's been in the news of recently, so we're going to talk about should he be reinstated. So I guess we'll start off with Vegas. Obviously, we had Bristol last week. 16 drivers are now down to 12. Obviously, as everyone knows, William Byron, Cole Custer, Ryan Blaney, Matt Benedetto, they are kicked to the curb. 12 drivers remain. Now, one thing we want to talk about with Las Vegas is something that's not really being hyped in the media as much as this is really going to be the most important race of the round, especially for a lot of drivers, because this is the only race that you can control. Dega's a wild card in the Roval. I mean, this is the third time we're going there, so it could still be considered a wild card. A road course is always going to be considered a wild card. So Justin, how do you think drivers are going to maybe play this race out? Do you think they know that this is really their only shot to maybe really keep their playoff hopes secured for the next round?
Yeah, I think the drivers are going to be pretty aggressive. They're going to drive pretty smart, the first two stages, and then do everything they can in the last stage. And you may see some contact, may see some Joe Logano and Kyle Busch get into it. That's my prediction. They'll probably be running next to each other tonight. So it's going to be a fun show because you never know next week in the Roval. So if you win this one, you're straight. You're good for the next round. So you better get that win.
Yeah, it's going to be a really important race for some drivers. Obviously, you're going to have your usuals, Hamlin and Harvick, but you might see some others like Alex Bowman. Bowman has been really quiet, ever since we hit the summer. But this is a track. This is a race where he probably should have won that last when we came here back in the fall, not the fall, the winter. Then again, there's three drivers that should have won the race last year anyway. So
yeah.
So I mean, we're gonna keep it short with Vegas. Who do you got winning for Las Vegas today?
The man who's been quite dominant the past 3 times they came there. He's won 2 of the last 3. The man, the 22, is Joe Logano. He's getting that W. Don't let Dawn know. I'm probably already getting tweeted at right now. Probably tweeting me already. But yeah, Logano. I got Logano winning. And if not him, then Truex.
Yeah, I got Mark Truex Jr. I mean, that team's been really, really good. They have so many top 5. I think they have 10 top 5s in 12 weeks or so. They haven't gotten the win yet since Martinsville, but I think with that much, we said the same thing about Eric Almirola then again. But I think Truex is a better driver than Almirola. I think he's got a better team, better equipment. I think that team is just primed for a win, and Vegas, I think, is the perfect place for it. He arguably should have won the other 500 earlier. So I got Martin Truex Jr. with the win, and our boy NASCAR Opinions got Kevin Harvick going for his 10th win of the season.
Kevin Harvick, okay.
How about that? Kevin Harvick, nearly 10 wins on the season. It's funny. This season really does feel
incredible.
This season really does feel like 1998. You got Harvick, who's basically Jeff Gordon, Hamlin, who's Mark Martin, and you can even argue Brad Keselowski's like Dale Jarrett. Obviously, it all comes down to Phoenix, which 4 makes it, whoever finishes first. But this really does feel like a 1998 type of season.
It's incredible the run that Harvick's having.
Really is. Anyways, moving on from Vegas, let's talk about the first of the 2 deals. We'll go with the little more, I guess, under the radar deal first, and then we'll move on to the big deal. Ross Chastain has been announced as the driver of the 42 car for Chip Ganassi Racing, replacing Matt Kenseth, who's replacing Kyle Larson. We'll talk about Larson later. So, what do you think about the Chastain deal?
I'm pretty excited about the deal. I think it's a really smart call to pick Chastain because you can see in the Xfinity Series his desire to win, and he's really aggressive. But in a good way. He used to be kind of like reckless aggressive, but like now he's just aggressive because he wants to win, and he's smarter now and more mature. So that's a great driver to pick for the 42.
Kind of funny because like for the past couple months, it didn't seem like Chastain's name was on the radar. People were talking about Eric
Yeah.
Jones at 42. I know Bubba had
Hmm.
a contract lined up for Ganassi pretty much. So it kind of felt
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that kind of just like forgot about Chastain. And so when Ross Chastain was signed to the 42,
Hmm.
in a way it shouldn't have been a surprise, but it kind of felt like one just because we didn't really hear Ross Chastain's name, just
Yeah.
thrown
Yeah.
out there the past couple months. But I'm
Hmm.
really happy for Ross Chastain. I think he deserves it. This is really NASCAR's like next like rags to riches story. Obviously,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the most prolific one is probably Matt DiBenedetto. I mean, going from BK Racing to driving for the Wood Brothers, and then obviously we also got Alex Bowman, who also went from like BK Racing. Tommy Ball went to driving for Hendrick Motors. So
Injured.
we're seeing
Hmm.
a lot of new rags to riches stories coming out of NASCAR, and I feel like that's starting to like shed NASCAR because especially for like the past couple of years, NASCAR felt like it was just only the rich kids get into the rides. Now when you have drivers
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Bowman getting rides, Benedetto, getting these chances, Chastain, NASCAR is having a lot of feel good stories right now, and
Hmm.
it feels really good, to see that. Another thing I want
Yeah.
to talk about is Ross Chastain. Mentioned it with Ross Chastain's aggression. He's gonna have
Hmm.
to work on that. He's gonna have to work on that, especially when he gets to the Cup Series. Obviously, he's driven for like the past 2 years or so in premium
Yeah.
and Spire equipment, and you're running in the
Hmm.
back to be a little more lenient with that. He's going to be in the 42 car. Granted, Ganassi isn't the best team in the world, but they're still
Hmm.
a team that's capable of winning races. They're like the Red Bull Racing of NASCAR. They're never really going to compete for the title, but they're a solid team. They're always going to be in the hunt. My
Hmm.
thing with that saying is that when you're in that position, when you're going to be, racing for the lead, when you're going to be competing for playoff spots like we expect Chastain to do, he cannot
Yeah.
afford, make these aggressive mistakes because you can maybe cut it the Xfinity Series, but you're not like when you try doing that with someone like Kyle Busch or Kevin Harvick or
Yeah.
Hamlin,
With the veterans.
yeah,
Hmm.
or Logano. I'd say Truex. People kind of bully Truex anyway,
Yeah.
but he's gonna have to work on that also because if he tries doing it with some of these drivers, I mean they're not gonna take it lightly. They're just gonna be like, okay, they're gonna dump him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that we might have to keep an eye on for Ross Chastain. Another thing I want to mention is going back, the 42 car, not the best car in the world, and again, it's not the worst. Do you think Ross
Hmm.
Chastain has a shot at making the playoffs next year?
Oh, definitely. I think he can. His aggression, that's all you need. Aggression, desire to win. He'll definitely, I think he's going to get a 1 or 2 next year, honestly. I'm going crazy with that bet, but a 1 or 2 for Chastain next year.
It's also something too, because like I mentioned before, Chastain is he going to be designated? I don't think he's going to be designated as a rookie because he has like I think like 70ish or so Cup starts. I don't think he's going to be
Yeah,
a
he has
rookie.
a lot.
Yeah, so he won't
Hmm.
be a rookie next year. But yeah, so he had that Cup experience. So that's really going to be interesting to see. Like, is that Cup experience gonna, how much is that going to translate? Because we're going to see a different performance from him that we saw from Chase Elliott's rookie season, or like Christopher Bell's or Ryan Blaney's or Eric Jones. Where, they were getting used to the Cup Series. Really, the only thing
Hmm.
Ross Chastain has to get used to, because he knows these Cup cars, even with his current package, the only thing he needs to get used to is just running up front with the leaders, running up front with the
Yeah.
Harvicks, with the Kyle Bushes, with the Denny Hamlins, the Chase Elliott. So it's going to be interesting. We talked about it before we went live. We're really excited for next year.
Hmm. It's going to be completely different. A whole new
Yeah,
field for NASCAR.
all new field, new places, new faces, new places, new tracks. It's
Uh-huh.
it's going to be a wild year next year. So moving on from Chastain, let's talk
Hmm.
about your boy Bubba
The
Wallace
boy, the
with
GOAT.
the new Hamlin and Michael Jordan deal. So
Incredible.
we'll let you kick us off with this one. What do you think about this? Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin teaming up and with Bubba Wallace as the driver.
Man, I was lost of words when they announced it, because I remember the rumor when it first came out. Like people were talking about it, and then I think Denny Hamlin like debunked it, and he was like, "That's not true at all." So that made people like forget about the rumor. Then they just come out of nowhere and just drop it. So I'm really excited for it. Um, I don't know how the car is gonna be. We don't know. It's a brand new team, but we're hoping that Bubba is gonna be fast next year. Uh, it's a very really big thing for Michael Jordan to come in NASCAR to be like one of the biggest athletes in the world. And he said something about diversity in NASCAR, and he wants more black drivers in NASCAR and black owners. So I think this is going to open a lot of doors, honestly. Especially if they're successful, it's going to open a lot of doors.
Hopefully, they're more successful than the Charlotte Hornets. Let me just say that. But
Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah. Like I remember like Bob Pocker said something like Michael Jordan, like he debunked like the whole news.
yeah,
From
yeah.
what we from what we were getting at, it seemed like the Toyota deal was going to happen, but not with
Hmm.
Michael Jordan. It was more or less going to be Denny Hamlin.
Yeah,
So then the news dropped, and like, yeah, Michael Jordan's coming. This is really big news for NASCAR to have, arguably the
really.
goat of basketball coming into to NASCAR. Michael Jordan said
Hmm.
he's pretty much been a NASCAR fan his entire life. Obviously, he and Hamlin have
Yeah.
been friends for over a decade now. So for them to come, bring on Bubba Wallace, who is really it's just massive news for NASCAR. It's going to bring a lot of
Hmm.
exposure. This could really, we say this all the time, but this could really, open the door for that casual fan that NASCAR's been wanting for
Yeah.
so long. Because you have a familiar
Hmm.
face like Michael Jordan. He's coming into the team. Bubba Wallace, who's really getting a lot of the national attention as of late,
Hmm.
as the driver, it's just a recipe for success, in terms of
Yeah.
the publicity that this is going to bring to the team. Another thing that's kind of going a little bit under the radar is this opens the door for Denny Hamlin when he decides to retire from NASCAR, from
Yeah.
Cup Series racing. So it's going to be interesting how much Hamlin is going to be involved in this team because obviously we
Hmm.
know he's still going to drive the 11. This is pretty much going to be a fifth Joe Gibbs racing car.
Yeah.
So how do you think Hamlin's going to do as an owner?
Hmm. I think he'll probably do decent as he's still driving in the Cup Series. But once he retires, he's gonna obviously give his full effort into the Cup team. So I don't know. I'm thinking hopefully Jordan will be more of the owner while Hamlin's still driving, and then once Hamlin retires, they both, as a collective, go all out.
Yeah, because another thing to be interesting too is this could maybe if we could see this affect Hamlin's performance also. Obviously
Yeah,
this his entire
that
career is
too.
just focusing on winning races, competing for championships. Now he's
Mhm.
got the owner side to him, so maybe
Mhm.
we might see that potentially affect his performance because he's not going to be able to focus 100% of his attention on driving the race car. Now he's got to focus
Yeah.
on managing this team. So you
Yeah.
think we might be able to potentially see his performance maybe even dip?
Yeah. We could. It's a possibility for that too.
Yeah, we
Probably.
might not. Let me just say, I don't think Hamlin is gonna go from being a top two driver in the series to being like a 25th place driver. I'm not saying that,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Not that
let's
drastic.
say yeah, but let's just say we might be over with the days of Hamlin winning 6, 7 races a season. We
Yeah.
might go back to that 2 to 3 win range because he's got to focus
Mhm.
his attention also on Bubba Wallace. Going on to Bubba Wallace now. This is really for the first time since 2014, I believe, when he was in the trucks with a Toyota team. Arguing, it's kind of
Mhm.
funny actually how it comes full circle. He started with Toyota
Yeah.
and now he's back with Toyota on top equipment. This is the first time since Kyle Busch Motorsports he's going to be in top level equipment. It's pretty much said this is going to be
Yep.
like the Furniture Road 2.0, more so than Levine Family Racing was, which they were kind of like half of that. How do
Mhm.
you think Bubba is going to perform with, do you think with this equipment? Can he perform? Can he compete for a playoff spot? Can he compete for wins?
Man, of course, you know my boy. Uh, when he was in top equipment in the truck series, he won at Martinsville, I believe, 2 times. He's never raced on dirt. He went to Eldora, first time ever on dirt, and he won that race because he has talent, unlike the haters who say he doesn't have talent and he crashes all the time, which is false. Uh, but you put him in some top equipment, he's gonna win, and it's simple as that. And the year he's been having in the 43 car, which is not a competitive car at all, he's showing his true talent. He's a fast and talented driver. All he needs is good equipment to showcase his true talents. Here's his chance.
Yeah, I think Bubba. I don't know if I'd say he'd get a win next year, just because new
Hmm.
team, everything still needs to be accustomed to. I mean,
Yeah.
how many people Matt Benedetto was going to win a race last year or this year, and it hasn't happened yet? Because there's still
Hmm.
those growing pains that you need to go through. So I don't know if he'll necessarily win a race next year, but I do think that he is going to compete for a playoff spot. Next year's
Yeah.
playoffs could arguably be more competitive than this year's. And I remember
Oh yeah.
me and we talked about it early, like way at the beginning of the year. There was like 23 drivers that were competing for these 16 playoff spots. Now we
Hmm.
could see that number jump up to like 25. This next year is
Yeah.
going to be the most, like we talked about, one of the most, not just because of the tracks, and obviously this goes in time with new faces, new places. How is that going
Hmm.
to shake up like the playoff grid? We still don't know who the driver of the 48 is, so that can determine if that's going to be a playoff contender or not. Obviously, that's a playoff car. We still don't know what's
Yeah.
going on with the 21 car. We still don't know what's going on with the 14 car, the 32. Could the 32 get a better SHR line? So let's say
Hmm.
someone like a Chase Briscoe enters into that seat. So next year is going to be very, very, very competitive. I can feel it right now.
It's
But
gonna
yeah,
be a fun year, man.
that Bubba deal, man. Next year is going to be a really fun year. Next year is going to be a really
I
fun
can't
year.
wait.
Okay, now. And the last thing we're going to talk about is going on what we talked about earlier. Should Kyle Larson be reinstated? Obviously, everyone knows what happened to him back during the
Hmm.
pandemic. That a racial slur. He got axed by Ganassi. They brought in Matt Kenseth, and Kyle Larson. Really, ever since then, he's been trying to do things to work his image, and obviously he's been
Yeah.
killing in the dirt. Like
Hmm.
he's got like over 40 wins, I think, in like 62 starts or whatever. So like the
Yeah.
man is unstoppable on dirt. Will that translate to cup success? I mean, that's a whole other discussion. But we want to talk about
Hmm.
this. What do you think? Should Kyle Larson be reinstated?
Well, of course he should. You know, shit happens. I'm sorry for my language, but people make mistakes. Apparently he's been working on himself. Hopefully it's not all for show. So if he actually truly changed, then yeah, he should get reinstated. The only thing I'm thinking about is if he does come back to NASCAR, like the backlash that NASCAR could possibly get. Because I know for a fact if he goes back to NASCAR, it's gonna be breaking news, and people outside of NASCAR they know Kyle Larson from being racist. So I don't know. NASCAR did all they can for the black community. So if he comes back, I honestly don't know. I don't know how the backlash would be, but yeah, we shall see, man.
Yeah, because like you said, Larson has been doing a lot. Obviously, if he went to like George Floyd's funeral, he's done
Hmm.
like a lot of volunteering to try to get himself better.
Yeah,
Obviously, like we say, he's killing it in the dirt. You can really see, and like he hasn't posted about this at all anywhere on social. He like deleted
yeah,
all the
yeah.
social
I'm,
media.
yeah,
That's
social
the
media.
number. That's the number one thing. Like he didn't like tell anyone this. He hasn't posted on social media, so if you could tell, like this isn't for show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This really wants to improve himself.
Hmm.
So I personally, I think Larson should be reinstated. I think
Hmm.
he's done his time. I believe he's learned from his mistakes.
Yeah.
So in the dirt series, he's trying to prove like, okay, not only is he trying to prove himself, as a driver, but he's obviously trying to prove
Hmm.
himself as a person. So going on the driver's side, Now, here's
Yeah.
another question, which obviously some people, I've seen a couple people like talk about. If Larson is reinstated, should he automatically be brought back in top equipment?
Nah, I don't think so. No. Nah, I think he needs to get back up to top equipment because there's a lot of talented younger drivers in the Xfinity series who could have a chance to possibly go in the 48. So I think it's time to showcase new talent, honestly. Yeah.
It's weird for me because I feel like if Larson really, really wants to like prove stuff, he should take like I don't think he should go like Warrior Racing, but maybe like a JTG or a Go
Yeah,
Fast.
something like that.
Like and then like he can work himself through there, and then he can get another top ride, especially because he wouldn't have been in a cup car since March up until that point. However, just because Larson is arguably one of the most talented drivers in the world right now, you're not going to be able. I don't think you're going to be able to put that talent in a back marker car for very long, if not ever. I mean, look what he did with Ganassi. Before he went into Ganassi was like a 20th place team. Larson comes into the team and they're for playoff spots to championships. Even bring they got Kurt Busch in the team, so So if Larson really like wants like true like present himself, because now he's going to be back in the public spotlight. That's the thing. Larson's been doing all this, but he's been doing it behind the scenes. I feel like if he does go to a back marker team, it will show like how much he's improved, but in the public spotlight, as opposed to we've been doing before behind the scenes. However, like I said before, he's too talented of a driver to be put like in a Go Fast or JTG Doherty. So should he be reinstated? I think he should. Should he go to a back marker? It's kind of hard. It depends. Like again, it depends like on what side you're going for. Are you going for the talent, or are you going for like the image he's trying to present himself?
Yeah, talent-wise, he should get a top equipment. But public eye, it's a little iffy. It's like 50-50, honestly.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, if he does get a Go Fast car, people won't be mad. Some people might be mad because, like, oh, he's too talented of a driver to be put there. But then if he gets a top right, like if he goes to SHR, you can't get mad because, like, okay, you might think, it's not time for him to get a top ride yet. But at the same time, you got to understand he's too talented to be put in, the midfield.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, that's pretty much everything that we have to discuss. Like I said, a quick little show here for NASCAR by the numbers. Also, before going back, something I want to mention on the Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan deal, rest in peace, Jermaine Racing. This is now their final season of the Cup Series.
R.I.P.
Rest in peace, Jermaine. All right, so that's pretty much it for NASCAR by the numbers. Again, a little different episode. Obviously, Will wasn't here today. He had some stuff to do, so a little quickie show. We'll wrap it up here. Justin, tell everyone where we can find you.
You could find me at Champagne Racing, No G Racing, on Twitter. Follow me. I got great content. Follow NASCAR by the numbers, Motor Minister. Yep. Follow us.
All right, so that's pretty much it for NASCAR by the numbers. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.